Everyone knows the routine: premium promise, financial excuse, then the lecture on market reality. Eventually, they act shocked when we ask why the next generation always arrives with a surcharge. Today, separate fact from panic, because investor pressure becomes fake certainty fast. First, reporting says some investors want the Switch 2 price raised, while others worry a higher price could hurt demand. Core tension is the whole story. Margin side sees squeezing, demand side sees customers keeping their old Switch. Gamers want Mario, shareholders want a surcharge. Officially, Nintendo has not confirmed a Switch 2 price hike. Say that clearly before comments build gallows. Underline it, because lazy commentary turns pressure into prophecy. Company answers from February 3rd said no decision had been made on changing the hardware price. Leadership said any future decision would consider profitability, installed base, sales trends, and market conditions. Basically, that is corporate code for walking carefully. Hardware is not just hardware, it is the front door. Once people enter, they buy games, controllers, subscriptions, cases, memory, and bundles. Therefore, the panic is real, but the hike is not confirmed. Profit is the pressure point, not player happiness. Investor answers also point at rising memory and component costs. Management said there was no major third quarter impact and none expected next quarter. Cost warning said profitability could take a hit if those pressures lasted. There it is, components cost more. Margins tighten, investors get nervous, and the player becomes the emergency exit. Clearly, this is not a gamer-first story. Instead, this is a spreadsheet begging for oxygen. Visual note: show a tug of war, Mario silhouette versus spreadsheet suit, getting heavier with every spec. Still, investors are not only greedy. Financial people are looking inside the box, where numbers threaten wallets. Important point: Nintendo chose the box. Engineers chose the screen, storage, chip strategy, and premium language. Higher specs are not weather. Market standards are just excuses corporations use when they want to stop being creative and start being extractive. Nobody had to put 4K language in the dock conversation. Nintendo chose specs that justify premium margins, so Nintendo cannot act like the bill fell from space. On paper, this toy starts looking like a small workstation with Mario stickers. Specs matter because they explain why the pressure exists. Confirmed details give premium language, 7.9-inch 1080p LCD HDR10 VRR up to 120 Hz, and a custom NVIDIA chip. Translation: it can run games without becoming a slideshow, which is why the bean counters sweat. Afterward, you get 256 GB of storage, Wi-Fi 6, docked 4K at 60 fps, and supported 1080p or 1440p at 120. Modern hardware language is wearing Nintendo colors. Show the specs as a literal scrolling receipt. Screen, HDR chip, storage, Wi-Fi, and 4K stack as charges. Let the total slam toward $450. Then cut to a value receipt for the original Switch launch price, $299. Viewers understand the fight: spec inflation versus value memory. Wait, it gets worse. While you are looking at 4K, investors are looking at your rent money. Trap arrives here. Designing premium hardware is Nintendo's decision. R&D choices are being framed as the consumer's financial responsibility. Designers cannot market a premium box, then treat players like unpaid contractors solving premium math. Those specs ask whether Nintendo sacrifices reach for investor comfort. Deeper question is not just what the machine can do. Really, the question is whether Nintendo sacrifices reach for investor comfort. Weakness is not the problem, and demand is not imaginary. People care about this product. Somehow, finance asks whether customers can absorb more pain. Meanwhile, Nintendo is balancing opposite goals. According to the same investor Q&A, Shuntaro Furukawa said Nintendo wants to avoid selling hardware at a loss globally. Context matters because the wider console business trained players differently. Sony and Microsoft often use losses, thin margins, or ecosystem math to build install bases, while Nintendo usually wants the box itself to pay. In a market condition to expect hardware sold near cost, Nintendo refusing to bleed for the customer makes it an investor darling and a family budget nightmare. Crucially, Furukawa also stressed years 2 and 3, not short-term trends. Essentially, they want growth, profit, adoption, investor comfort, and no backlash. Good luck with that. Pricing is not just math. Trust sits behind the number. Holiday parents hear a price and choose, maybe for Christmas, or absolutely not. Adoption decides whether you build a generation or teach people to wait. Current reporting frames Switch 2 around $450, which already starts fights because regular buyers compare it to groceries, rent, electricity, controllers, subscriptions, and backlogs. Cut to a split-screen Switch 2 on one side, groceries on the other, and $450 between them as evidence. Budget pressure turns price into trade-off. Trade-offs are what they feel. Subscriptions deserve more weight here. Capital is not just looking at the $450 price tag. They are looking at the lifetime value of your Nintendo account. A console is the one-time toll, subscription money is the rent. Premium hardware signals premium service logic, and higher entry fees often warm up service hikes. If hardware is the toll booth, Nintendo Switch Online is the recurring fee to stay in the parking lot. Sane customers do not buy consoles hoping the monthly bill gets creative. Recurring trap now is the possible Switch 2-tier, upgrade fee, better cloud save bundle, or expansion pack with a shinier name. Possibly it never happens. Perhaps Nintendo keeps it simple. But the market loves recurring revenue more than one-time hardware margins, because rent beats a single sale. Backwards compatibility is the hidden tax or the saving grace. Compatibility turns price into value instead of punishment. Assuming every Switch 1 game works day one, $450 is easier to defend. Your library survives, old purchases matter, and limited compatibility makes $450 feel like restarting. Instantly, $450 is not moving forward, it is restarting. Cartridges are not the whole issue. Digital libraries tied to Nintendo accounts matter just as much. When that history does not carry over cleanly, $450 is not transition, it is eviction. Someone with 30 Switch games is not just buying hardware. He asks whether 7 years of purchases still count. Buyers do not want premium money spent rebuying the same ecosystem. Ultimately, another purchase fights inside a monthly budget that already lost a boss fight. As Bloomberg reports investor concern about deep unprofitability, and Nintendo Life frames margins versus demand, the story lands because everyone feels squeezed. Prices are high, software costs more, subscriptions rise, food costs more, electricity costs more, and controllers hurt. Next, investors look at $450 and ask whether it should go higher. No player asked for a richer investor. Consumers never stood outside a store saying, "I hope shareholders feel supported today." Ordinary customers asked for stable prices. Families asked for value. Parents asked for a console without budget surgery. Official language shows the company knows the risk. Since future pricing must weigh installed base and sales trends, Nintendo understands higher prices can slow adoption. Any platform does not win because the first spreadsheet looks nice. Victory comes when enough people enter and buy games. Customers are entering the ecosystem. Finance wants a toll booth. Editor note, make the toll booth literal. Put a Switch dock with a fake card reader beside a defeated parent silhouette and giant 4K price tag. Leave it ugly, that image explains the story. Add another possibility. Usually new consoles let old ones drop in price. The latter is supposed to work that way. Old hardware becomes cheap entry while new hardware goes premium, unless component costs keep the old Switch expensive enough to make Switch 2 look reasonable. Certain investors might prefer the old machine staying expensive, so Switch 2 looks reasonable. Meaning, price floor logic. Keep the floor high, and the ceiling feels normal. Maybe $450 is not expensive, it is positioned. And perhaps $499 is not painful, it is premium. Ladders like this can become psychological traps. Should Switch 2 be mass market hardware or a premium margin device? Problem is those goals can fight each other. Understand, Nintendo is not selling a boutique PC. Its audience includes kids, parents, commuters, collectors, casual players, and one-console homes. Push the price too far, and the answer becomes later. Launch software shrinks, accounts slow, accessories weaken, and investors ask why the flywheel takes so long. Long-tail strategy matters here. Historically, Nintendo loves the long tail. Strong installed bases make releases hit harder. Heavy entry fees start the long tail with fewer people holding the console. Forum reaction proves this hit nerves. Resetra has discussion around the Bloomberg report. Reddit's gaming leaks and rumors has a Bloomberg post. Switch 2 communities are talking too. Fans hear price increase and start doing hostage negotiation math. Their reaction is not irrational. Past industry habits train people. Console costs start the bill, games add hits, membership costs extra, and peripherals hurt. Release windows look like payment plans with mascots. So when investors say, raise it, players hear no careful hardware economics. Audiences hear another hand sliding toward wallets. This story is not, Nintendo betrayed gamers today. Easy take is too tempting, and right now it would be wrong. Reality is colder. The market keeps charging players more before earning the right. Games now look like investor mood boards. Across the industry, hardware has become margin theater. Every chip, dock, cartridge, controller, account transfer, and subscription becomes a lever until the audience flinches. Final question, if Nintendo ever hits that $499 investor dream price, is that your absolutely not moment? Would you wait for a Switch 2 Lite, a bundle, or a rare Nintendo price drop? Are you still in because it is Nintendo? Comment below, because the console war is over. Finally, now it is you versus shareholders.